Magic and spells. Yes, today we'll be taking a look at the humongous, gargantuan, big and very large list of spells that is available to you in Baldur's Gate 3, but I will try to narrow down this whole very long list of different spells available to different casters, different people, different things even, into a top 10 spells. My definition of a good spell, and the reason why I put some of these spells on this list, are twofold. Firstly, a spell has to be useful. What does it mean that it's useful? Well, it cannot be situational, it cannot be great but against only one or two bosses, it cannot work well early game and then fall off, or be available only in very, very, very late game. It has to be useful throughout your whole playthrough. Second thing, it has to be available, meaning that, well, if you can only use it once, like things that you can learn from the books in Act 3, things that are like literally one-time spell scrolls, etc., we don't care about those. Also, if a spell is available only to one or two classes, it will immediately go towards, well, the down part of this list. But let's just jump into those 10 spells that I want to show you today. And we're starting off with a big one. Globe of Invulnerability. Invulnerable is a very good condition. You're immune to all damage, but can still be affected with status effects. You can be on fire, but you don't take fire damage. The biggest problems, and the reason I put Globe of Invulnerability on, well, the 10th place, as low as we can go while still being on this list, is that, well, it's only available to two classes. It's a 6th level spell, so unless you have some cool staves, for example, you can only use it once per fight, which is usually all you need, but well, you use it once per fight and it only lasts 3 turns. If the fight is going well, you shouldn't probably need more than 3 turns to finish up a fight, so technically everything should go well, but if something doesn't, well, global invulnerability is not that great. The problem also with this is that the most, I would say, the places where you need it most, for example, at the very, 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 very end of the game, like when you're fighting the Elder Brain, you can still be affected with status effects, meaning that you can, for example, still be stunned by the Mind Flayers. You can still be knocked prone, or you can still basically lose the concentration on your spellcaster that is doing it, and, well, yeah, that's it. You can still be pushed out of it. It's not perfect. It is still definitely a great spell, but the reason I'm putting it so low is that I wouldn't call it very universal useful. Number 9, Hold Person. Oh my goodness, this is a good spell. This is a spell that it can literally, like, if you have the spell, you just blast through so many different encounters. I mean, so many different encounters. From the beginning of the game, when you fight, for example, the goblins, or if you want to kill the grove, if you're that type of person, you can hold so many things. In mid-game, you can hold things like the Githyanki, which are usually very, very difficult opponents. But if you hold them and you can paralyze them, you can make them not take any actions, any reactions, any bonus actions, nothing. And in addition to that, the paralysis effect allows you to, where do we have it? It allows you to score critical hits if you're within the range of 3 meters. It's not even melee attacks. You can still also critical hit with a bow to the face, basically. It is just amazing. It allows you to blast through so many encounters, and it is the 2nd level spell, which makes it even more powerful. And you can upcast it, which is amazing. The fact that you can, where do you have it? The fact that you can cast it in higher levels and target one more creature with one Hold Person, you can get like 3 Githyanki warriors, and you basically disable most of the enemy front line, or the whole enemy line. What makes this spell even better is that it's available to basically everybody. Like, nearly everybody has the spell available. Some of the classes even have them available as always prepared. Great spell overall, very useful, very similar to the next spell of this list, which you can expect, Hold Monster. As a person who loves, well, controlling the battlefield, Hold Monster, Hold Person, mwah. Hold Monster is basically how you easily blast through Raphael, easily blast through Orin. I was thinking if Hold Monster and Hold Person, like, if they should be in a different order, perhaps because Hold Monster is a 5th level spell, and you can only use it basically starting in Act 3. usually, I mean, you can reach 9 or 10 by the end of an Act 2. Still, the number of things that you can that you actually be able to hold after you reach those levels is very limited. This spell basically takes off in Act 3. However, it is of course much more powerful than Cold Person. You can also upcast it, yes, because you can reach 6 level spell slots, so you can get 2 creatures and blast through so many bosses. An amazing spell. Not much to add after we already discussed Hold Person. Number 6, I think, Cold Lightning. The only reason that Cold Lightning is on this list is because of a twin spell is not a proper word here, but a very, very, very connected spell, Create or Destroy Water. Create or Destroy Water, or the ability to throw a water bottle on an enemy and make them wet, which makes them vulnerable to lightning. It basically doubles the damage. Is the only reason that Cold Lightning is here. I know that there are people who are fans of Fireball, which does much more damage. However, Fireball has 2 other issues. It's much more difficult to make an enemy vulnerable to fire. That's one thing. But even before that, Cold Lightning is a concentration spell, which in this case is actually an advantage of Cold Lightning, because you can then cast it on the following turns, or you can even like quicken it if you are a Storm Sorcerer. It is also available to many different classes, with Druid being the best one, the prime one. However, I think the best combo that you can get is a Tempest Domain Cleric with a Storm Sorcerer, when you can just quicken Create Water, immediately go for Cold Lightning on one of your caster, Cold Lightning on the second one. You can even pick it on a Bard, and you can literally fry so many things. It is technically an AoE of 2 meters 70 feet. It's not big, but you can position your enemies so that you get 2 or 3 of them within one, which makes it even better. It's an absolute. It's a great way, by the way, to also finish off the brain in the end fight, in the final fight. You can easily make it wet and then apply so much lightning damage that even if you're playing on honor mode, it doesn't really matter. That has the immunities to the damage dealt on the previous turn. Very, very cool spell. I think it would be much in a completely different place of this list if not if there was not Storm Sorcery and Tempest Domain subclasses. Without those 2 subclasses, I think it would be a good spell, but more of an average. I'm not sure if it would make it to this list. Next one is obviously Counterspell. Counterspell is, well, it's so good. It was difficult to justify it so high up on this list, since it's only available to basically 2 casters, because Warlocks are like not like, I mean, they are they're a special type of casters for sure. Wizards and sorcerers love to use this spell. If you can counter any type of AoE from an enemy caster, it becomes super useful. It is a bit situational, but the situations where you actually use it are so good that I position it much higher than other, maybe less situational spells. Because for example, Cold Lightning, you can cast it in every battle, and it will be good against any enemy except for Answer maybe. Counterspell really requires the other side of the battlefield to have casters. But the moments where you counter a spell, it just saves you so much. And what is best about a spell, and we will mention this in one more spell on this list, is, well, the fact that it is a reaction. It doesn't consume your whole action, which is the best thing about it. I'm not even saying that you can cast it reactively to a spell. That's not what I'm saying. It's using a resource that most often as a spellcaster you're not using anyway. You're not doing the opportunity attacks with your reactions, because you probably try to keep your sorcerers, warlocks, wizards somewhere far from the melee attackers. So the fact that you can utilize a otherwise completely not used resource, it makes this spell so great. Okay, we're getting high, and I think there will be some subjective choices. I'm not sure if everybody would put Sleet Storm so high, but I do. Sleet Storm is a very cool spell that, even though it doesn't do damage, it's not as confusing as Confusion, or as hypnotizing as hypnotic pattern, it is still an amazing AoE and it's still an amazing control spell. It's a concentration spell that every turn, starting from the moment you cast it, it calls forth a storm that doses fire, creates an ice surface. It doesn't do damage. This is very important because when you first read the spell, you might think it does it does no damage, but it creates an ice surface, very large ice surface. I'm not sure why it's 9 meters radius. It's very big, and it also forces each caster within the radius to make a concentration saving throw, or they lose concentration. This is like a good added bonus against casters, but most importantly, you get a very big area of a difficult terrain, first of all, and secondly, it's an ice surface, so people and other things can slip. And because how slipping and going prone works in Baldur's Gate 3, it is an amazing condition. Like, if you make your opponent prone, it finishes its turn at this point. It cannot stand up at the same turn and do something else. So an opponent that doesn't take their action, tries to go through your ice surface and goes prone and finishes their turn. They lose their action, lose any of the resources they didn't do. They cannot even if they had 1 million movement speed, they cannot use half of this movement speed to get up, which makes Sleet Storm very, very good. And also, it is very widely available to, again, nearly all of the spellcasters. Very, very good spell. I think it's one of the most subjective ones because I love to control the battlefield. That's why I'm putting it so high. But its influence, again, from the moment you get it on level 3, you probably don't want to use it immediately when you get level 3 spell slots because you don't have that many of them. But later in the game, they can just win, again, very big fights. Like the whole Viconia and the Cloister fight. Sleet Storm can just obliterate the action economy of the enemies, and it works on many different enemies, except for, of course, those that cannot fall prone. Of course, Spirit Guardians. This implementation of Spirit Guardians in Baldur's Gate 3 is much different than the standard D&D. The biggest difference is that you can basically force an enemy to make a save against it, to take damage from it, because you can just go near them and they immediately take the damage. They cannot take another damage from Spirit Guardians again in the same turn, but it's still the fact that you can force them, so either if they approach you or if you approach them, they take the damage immediately when they enter the Spirit Guardian radius, which itself is not that big. It's only 3 meters, but it is good enough that you can sometimes run past an enemy, make a save and take the damage, and they don't take an attack of opportunity against you because you're still outside of the radius they reach. The fact that it's you can also choose between Radiant and Necrotic makes the spell even more amazing because it absolutely shines in Act 2, I would say, mostly, and at 3 it's still usable. You can, of course, you can upcast it because it's such a good spell. Act 3 is just a blast with Spirit Guardians. However, there are some creatures that have Radiant Retort, I believe it's called, and they don't like Radiant and they reflect Radiant to you. And the fact that you can change it to Necrotic, even though it's a very, very light yellow spell color, is just amazing. It is very good. It is high on this list because a party without a cleric... How can you have a party without a cleric? I always have a party without a cleric, and even though it is only available to clerics, and of course College of Lore, if you go through Magical Secrets, on the 9th level you get it for paladins, but mostly you will be using it on clerics. This spell and 1 or 2 other spells make the clerics just not a must-have. You can finish the game without a cleric, of course, but with a cleric, it makes it so much easier. Invisibility. We are getting to a very tight competition between the spells, and invisibility is an amazing spell. There is also greater invisibility, which is more of like a combat-oriented spell. I treat invisibility more of like a setup type of spell, or maybe utility spell. There's so many important encounters or parts of the game that you can not speed run through, but like you can skip if you don't want, just if you go invisible. I mean, you can skip quite a lot of content of this game if you want, which I highly not advise you to. But invisibility allows you to get to somewhere without being seen. That's one thing, because in this implementation, invisibility basically grants you complete non-detection if the enemies are not looking for you. Like you can literally run past an enemy with the biggest ears you ever seen, and they will still not hear you, even though it's only an invisible effect. It basically grants you like complete. You can be detected unless you're in combat. What is also super important about invisibility is if you're playing honor mode, this is your like get out of jail free card. If any fight is going sideways, you cast invisibility on one of the people and just run, and you're good to go. You can easily run out of any fights because of this spell. It is just literally a lifesaver. The fact again that we have access to it from so many classes, and you get it on basically level 3. You have access to it from the very, very early game. And it's good until the late game. Like I use it to run out of combat when I fight when my under-leveled party fights leader by leader in a goblin camp, up until the very last fight that is supposed to exhaust your resources, which you can completely skip because there's no interesting loot or anything whatsoever outside of very cool combat, of course. But right before the brain, before you go to the stem of the brain, before you climb it, you have like this absolute everybody basically. There are goblins, there are orcs, there are ogres, there are mind flayers, there are possessed people, and so on. Like everybody is there. Cast invisibility, you skip that part, and it is much, believe me, it is much less resource consuming to cast one, even upcast one invisibility, because of course you can upcast it because it is such a good spell. You can upcast it on your whole party and just zoop. Right to the stem, and it is so great because of this and many other reasons. Misty Step. I think the power of this spell is similar to Counterspell. Like on its own, it is nice, it is good, but the biggest strength of this spell is again the action economy. This is a bonus action teleport that doesn't provoke attacks of opportunity, is available to many different classes. It is also available through even 2 different, very good by the way, an early game amulet that you can get literally on level 3, easily on level 3. Disintegrating Nightwalkers, which can technically be even your endgame boots, and also have a free use of Misty Step. You usually don't need to Misty Step twice in a fight, so having a one even recharge on short rest is perfectly fine. You have access to it on most of your casters. You can of course take it as a bard. Very good option. It is a 2nd level spell slot, but it is definitely worth it. Very good transportation spell. I would say much better than, for example, Dimension Door, even though Dimension Door allows you to take another person and it has much longer range. Still, because it's a bonus action, like the fact that it is a bonus action, similarly to Counterspell. If Counterspell was an action, even if Counterspell worked like you can reactively use it, you don't use reaction, but you like take an action from your next turn, Counterspell will be terrible. Counterspell is perfect because it's a reaction, and Misty Step is perfect because it's a bonus action. Very good transportation spell. Now, this is the second on this list, and after that we will have a few honorable mentions. But this is still the second best spell in the game. I love Command. You could have thought about it when I told you that I'm an absolute control freak of the battlefield. I love to control, and I love to deny the enemies their action economy, their actions, bonus action, reactions, etc. Command drop, command hold, command ravel are also great options. All of those basically deny a turn. This is a spell, I know it's only available to a cleric and well, fiend if you're a warlock, but then you don't have that many spell slots. But you can also use it on a paladin, and you can use it on a College of Lore bards, which is a charisma-based caster, which makes it makes the saving throw against it very, very high. You can even find it on technically 2 only, because the Netherstone you unstud from the gauntlet, but you can find it on some cool gear as well. For me, it is a must-have. The fact that you can upcast it makes this spell. If it was just a 1-level spell that just holds, or basically, it doesn't paralyze, but it like denies the enemy anything. Like it doesn't freeze them in place, but it also not only does it freeze them in place, but it also prevents them from taking reactions. And actions, bonus actions, sure. It is just so good, and the fact that you can upcast it to, for example, hold basically half of the battlefield, it's just amazing. I use it always against Raphael. I'm just like, if I have a very good non-challenge run, I would say Raphael doesn't take a turn, because I have either a bard with command hold, or I have of course a cleric. Again, hold command particularly hold or command drop, plus spirit guardians, plus call lightning if it's a tempest cleric, or if it's channel divinity healing from life cleric. Those are just a few things that make the cleric just such a powerful class for me. Then you can play against it, as I say. You can play without it, as I say, but it is so much easier to play with a cleric. Now, before we get to the absolute top 1, I have some few honorable mentions, of course. The first honorable mention is this is the Enhance ability. Very, very useful spell if you want to succeed on the checks, if you want to get an advantage of an ability checks. Great spell, available on quite many, not even support-like casters. I understand why it's on a cleric and druid, maybe bard as well. The fact that sorcerers have it, that's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, sorcerers don't have that many spells available, so picking Enhance ability must be justified, but it is a very, very good utility spell. I think I used it mostly for the Eagle Splendor, which is the buff to Charisma, advantage on Charisma checks, and when you, for example, want to skip a few bosses in Act 2, well, Enhance ability is the way to go. Thunderwave. I couldn't stop myself from putting it on the list. Thunderwave is not a great spell on its own, but it helps so much against a few very particular enemies, especially in Act 2. The Scrying Eyes. Oh, the bane of... I mean, they are very, very... well, painful when it comes to just deleting them without thunder damage. Really, really painful. You can either toss them into a chasm, which is not difficult, but you still sometimes have to take a few turns to just push it around the battlefield and just throw it into some chasm. Thunderwave is much easier. Also, it deletes them practically the same. It can delete them in the first term, so you don't get reinforcements. It's a very quality of life spell, and to add to that, Thunderwave, again, very similar to Shatter. Basically, I would say the Shatter and Thunderwave are equally good. They'll also allow you to get through some obstacles. Mostly, I think, Act 1, I can think of a few things in Grimforge, but probably some other places as well. Very, very just useful spell, I would say, more quality of life than powerful. Well, again, Control Freak. Yeah, we talked about it already. Confusion. The first time I cast Confusion, it was just like my eyes opened when I just took my whole team, hid behind some door or whatever chest. I cast Confusion, and the enemies just start killing themselves. It is beautiful. It's just like you don't have to do anything. You just pass a turn and let them fight. It works especially good if you have many enemies that don't have high wisdom. It works great against I think Act 3 in the bank where you have a lot of flaming fists. I mean, sorry, not flaming fists. Flaming fists maybe as well, but. And the guys from Bane and the Steel Watchers, you cast Confusion on them and you see just they blast each other to oblivion. It is just really, really satisfying for me to just skip the turn, just press the space bar and wait for them to kill one another. Very, very cool spell. There is, of course, if you're looking for a very good control spell, I would actually probably suggest Hypnotic Pattern, because it's a level 3 spell and it has a higher radius, but it just freezes the enemies, while Confusion can actually make them hostile to everyone or wander around aimlessly, which is basically skip a turn, and occasionally skips a turn just without even moving. All right, the top one. Finally, I cannot imagine this list with a different top one. Like, how can you not use Guidance? Guidance is an amazing spell. The fact that it's a spell, it's a cantrip. It's a cantrip. It is amazing in the regular tabletop. It is amazing in here. It works. Well, it works the same, meaning that you get the same bonus, but the fact that in Baldur's Gate you can add Guidance after the check was called. Like, usually when you play D&D, your dungeon master calls for a check, and unless you, I mean, it depends usually on the dungeon masters, on the rules that you decide on, but you can't always just say, oh, Guidance, right? After the check is called. In Baldur's Gate, well, that's the only way. You can, of course, guide somebody before a check if you know that the check is going to happen, but if a check is already happening, like if you already asked to roll, then you can only decide to add Guidance or enhance ability, as I said. The fact that it's a cantrip, you basically always want to do it. I cannot imagine a scenario where you can't do it. It is available in 2 classes, basically 3 if you get Pact of the Tome Warlock. You can even get it through a Magic Initiate, which is, I think, quite useful. However, because there is a Silver Pendant, which you can literally get Silver Pendant level 2, or even level 1 if you really, really make sure to skip everything. And you can put it on any caster. This spell doesn't scale with your spellcasting ability, so it's good on any type of person, any type of caster. You can even get it from Magic Initiate. This is, I would say, the best spell. The only and the biggest problem with this spell is that this game is so good. And what I mean by this is that this game has very cool, very interesting scenarios when you actually fail. And using the word fail, I think it's not proper. I look at failures when you fail an ability check as, well, you just unlocked a different path in this ginormous tree of different choices of Baldur's Gate scenarios. Like, you can miss on so many things if you fail or succeed on a checks. That's why this game has a high replayability, and the way I played it, I think the first or the second time was I wanted to max everything out. I wanted to get everything succeed every check, succeed every saving throw, and so on. But then I realized that it's not a success versus fail. It's if you want to take this or another path. They both are equally cool, and I'd say the biggest bane of Guidance is that you can overuse it, and I definitely suggest that you don't overuse Guidance if you want to explore. But of course, if you want to only succeed ability checks, Guidance is the way to go. That wraps up that wraps up the list of top 10 spells. I'm really interested in what do you think. I'm sure I can already guess a few spells, at least 2. That people probably don't usually put on a top 10 spell list, because I have my own fetishes when it comes to Battlefield. But feel free to jump into the comment section and let me know what other spells you would like to see, or what spells you definitely don't want to see, and why, because I think that's the most interesting part.